How's it going, everyone? Thanks for joining me on my small engine repair channel. Today's project is on this Husqvarna 510 MD push mower. The customer said he hit something with the blade and it's stopped. So let's take a look at it, see if we can fix it up for him. Alright guys, so welcome back to the channel. Thanks for joining me. If you like small engine repair stuff and just tinkering, this is the channel for you. Please consider subscribing. Hit the notification bell, that way you're notified each and every week I publish a video just like this upcoming one. This one is one I see a couple times a year. Somebody typically hits a water main or a tree branch or a big rock or something like that with the blade. The engine stops suddenly. They go to start it back up again, and the pull cord basically rips right out of their hand. So that's the symptoms that we know about. So let's take a quicker look at what could be damaged on this thing, and hopefully it's not too bad and we can fix it up for them. So the first thing I want to do anytime I hear that a lawnmower has hit something is I want to flip it over on the on its side and check out the underbelly. When you do this, you always flip it over with the carburetor side up. Okay, so first thing I'm doing is looking for damage to the blade where they smoked something. So this blade is not in great shape to begin with. It's got a lot of dings. It's pretty dull, and oh, sheesh, take a look what's going on here. So I spin this blade a little bit, and is the crankshaft moving? Nope, it should be, because this blade adapter is directly linked to the crankshaft through a like a keyway system, which we'll see here. So that's obviously one problem that's sheared the keyway on this blade. Okay, so oh geez. Okay, I just kind of slowly started, well actually tried to undo this, which you shouldn't be able to do obviously with your hand. There should be about 40 foot-pounds of torque on this bolt. So that has loosened off this bolt somehow. So I'm going to just take it all the way out. The blade, I'm going to, I don't know, it's hard to tell sometimes when blades have these big curves on them whether or not they're bent or not. Actually, the best way to probably tell, if I put this back on, I probably should have done this first, is by rotating the blade and checking the relationship between the blade and some part of the deck. So if I take a look here, that's nice and tight. Okay, so I'm going to hold this camera pretty still right here, and so that's what it looks like on this side. I'm going to flip the blade around. Oh yeah, it's definitely bent. Either the blade's bent or the crankshaft is bent. Hopefully it's just the blade, because you can see the tip of that blade is now inside the edge of the mower deck. When I flip it around this way, it's actually on the outside of the mower deck, the tip of it. So definitely the blade, either the blade is bent, I would say the blade's probably bent, but we'll have to check out the crankshaft too. Now again, when I spin this blade adapter, this crankshaft should move. Okay, so it is moving there, but now it's unstuck. So this shouldn't be happening. So, oh, there you go. Okay, take a look at the blade adapter. Completely cracked. And right in the area where that keyway is, right here. And here's the key that should actually, it's not actually a key, it's actually a fixed key. It should fit sort of here and stick out a little bit and then match up. with the keyway on this crankshaft. So they kind of mate together that way. So this obviously has to be replaced. The blade probably. Now I need to check out if this crankshaft is bent before I go any further. If it's bent, you know, it's not going to be fixable. You're basically going to have a wobble and a vibration continuously. So let's take a look. What we're going to do is I'm going to put you here, and then I'm going to turn over the engine by pulling on the pull cord. All right, I've got the brake handle tied at the top there, so this should allow me to pull this over. I don't want to pull it over too many times on its side there, because you know, you start getting fluids getting pushed around where they shouldn't be because it's on its side. But I'm going to take a look, and what we're looking for is for any sort of wobble on that crankshaft. When it rotates, it should rotate fairly smoothly. There shouldn't be any wobble. So let's see what it looks like when I pull the cord here. Okay, there's definitely, you can see it from up top here, definitely some wobble. It's not very much, it's definitely some. So I'm not sure if I'm gonna continue on with this one. I might try and put a blade adapter on there with the blade, see how much it shakes, if I can get it running. If it shakes a lot, then I'm just gonna not worry about it. This is just gonna be a toast engine, because you can't really bend back these crankshafts with any sort of, there is ways you can hammer on it. There's a crankshaft bender, but I don't have one of those. And you never know what kind of damage you're doing to the crankshaft by pounding on it or bending it again. So anyways, let me put something together here to see if we can get this thing started and see how much vibration there is. Alright, so here's a new used blade adapter, and like I was saying, that key is a fixed key. It's actually an integral piece of this, and it basically slides on where the keyway is on the crankshaft. Okay, slides on like that. And even though this blade might be bent a little bit, just for testing purposes, I'm going to try and put this thing on. Alright guys, so I got a new blade on there. I'm going to reattach the spark plug wire. I unattached that in case when I flip it over, I don't want to spin the blade and have anything fire up inadvertently on me. So I've reattached that. I put the blade back on, and he said that the pull cord ripped out of his hands when he tried to fire it up. This hurts like a you-know-what. So I wouldn't normally do this, but just for this sake of this video, that's exactly what I'm going to do. Hopefully I don't hurt myself too bad. So we got a start position, and there is primer. So we get guys, so you see it is running, but it's kind of put, like sputtering, and you can even see it shaking a little bit here. So I'm thinking that the ignition timing is out a little bit because they probably sheared the flywheel key. Thankfully I didn't get that thing rip out of my hands, and so I'm going to show you how to check the flywheel key next. Alright guys, so I got you up on my lift here. To get at the flywheel key. We're gonna have to take a bunch of this top stuff off here. So I'm gonna take this air filter cover off first. That's 5/16. All right, now it looks like on this particular model, there are two Phillips screws on the top end. Okay, take off the gas cap. And there's something else holding this thing. It's usually, there we go, usually a tab in the back. Okay, put this gas cap back on so we don't spill anything. All right, we're gonna have to take the whole gas tank off. I'm gonna undo the pull cord first so I can get this top lid off. And we got 3 more 5/16 on the top for the gas tank. There is also a 3/8 bolt underneath here. There's also usually a spacer on these Briggs & Stratton engines. It goes in between the tank and the engine. So the tank is good to just pull out of the way. There is a 5/16 bolt up top for the oil dipstick. Take that off, and I'm gonna lift up the oil dipstick just a little bit and then rotate it 90 degrees and then push it back down into the hole for the block where the oil goes. Now to get this top shroud off, you got 4 3/8 bolts here. Just go front and back. That guy usually just lifts off, but it looks like there's another 5/16 for this muffler shroud that attaches to this engine shroud. And now we can get that guy off, the starter recoil. Alright, so now the flywheel is going to be up and underneath, sorry, the flywheel key is going to be up and underneath this flywheel. So we got to take off this nut, and I believe this is a 15/16 nut. So I'm going to get that off first. Right, I'm going to take off the starter cup. And take off the plastic fan assembly. All right, now there's a couple different ways you can try and take these off. So what you're going to want to do is, first of all, you're going to have to release this brake. That'll help you out, and you do that with this handle up top, right? That's a part of the brake handle assembly. So I'm going to tie that off first. That will remove that brake. All right, now this flywheel itself will not just come off on its own. All right, it's press fit on there. It's a tapered crankshaft. Okay, so when you cinch it down, it actually tightens itself on. So what we need to do is get up and underneath here with some sort of a pry bar, and then I'm going to put this nut back up on top, the starter cup nut. I'm going to put that so that it's flush with maybe a little bit sitting up, a little proud of the top of the crankshaft. And there's a couple different ways you can do this. The way I'm going to show you is very rudimentary. I haven't had any issues with it, but some people say you got to be careful. What you do, what I'm going to have to do is get a pry bar up and underneath this flywheel and put upward pressure on it while I smack the top of this crankshaft with a mallet. So that's my preferential way of doing it. So first thing I do is try and find a spot where I'm not going to do any real damage to anything else. In fact, I'm going to have to take off the oil dipstick here because I see an area where I can kind of get it up and underneath there and put some upwards pressure on the flywheel from the bottom. And I'm going to try a dead blow hammer first because I try not to damage anything up top here, but come off with this dead blow. And when it comes off, it's very obvious. You'll feel it. So that dead blow is not working. So just going to get myself a small mallet, and I'm going to do the same thing. But again, I want to make sure that nut stays a little proud. I don't want to mushroom the top of that. I don't want to mushroom the top end of that crankshaft because you won't get the nut back on later. And I think we got it. Yeah. All right, so get that nut off. And now I actually can see the flywheel key and keyway. So here is the keyway on the crankshaft. That needs to line up with the keyway on the flywheel. So here's the keyway on the flywheel, about 1/8 of a turn over from the keyway on the crankshaft. So this key that's supposed to keep this lined up with this is definitely sheared off, okay? And by shearing that off, it actually rotates this flywheel a little bit, and the magnets, when they're supposed to line up with the ignition coil here to make spark for your spark plug, it's out of timing. So with this much out, I'm surprised this thing even ran, but that's exactly why the thing was running pretty poorly. So what we're going to do here now is just remove this. I'm going to need 2 hands. Remove this flywheel and replace the key. We're going to have to reline up the keyways on both pieces. Okay. So let me show you the remnants of the key. It's actually split, looks like, in 2 pieces. There's one half that came out of the flywheel. There's the other half that's still in the keyway for the crankshaft. So I'm gonna have to dig this out with probably a hammer and a flathead screwdriver, and then I'm gonna replace this key with a new one. All right, there's what's left of what's in the one that was in the crank. Okay, so they're not supposed to be 2 separate pieces. I'll show you what one looks like. All right, so here's my 2 pieces of my sheared key. They probably fit like this somehow, like that. Pretty much. Anyways, doesn't matter. This is what a new one or a new used one will look like. Okay, so all one piece, obviously. And what we're going to do is just slide that in after we line up the 2 keyways. We're going to slide the key in between, and that should put it all back together. That should help us with that sputtering and rough running that we were experiencing when I fired this thing up. So I'm just lining up. I'm lining up the 2 keyways, which then makes one big space for me to be able to put this new key in there. And I will usually have to knock that in a little bit with a hammer. And there you go, guys. That's exactly how it should look. It should be lined up with your key right in that nice keyway slot. There we go. Put you down and we'll fire this thing up, see what happens. All right, let's see how we did. Start position. Alright, so that worked good, guys. It's not sputtering and puttering anymore. It does have a vibration, and that's due to the small amount of crankshaft wobble. I don't think the blade is probably bent. I think that's difference we saw in the beginning was because there's a crankshaft wobble, which we're not going to fix. Now, it's up to the customer to decide whether or not that it's worth keeping it like that. So, but at least we got to show you how to handle a lawnmower that's hit something and stopped suddenly. So hopefully it was helpful to somebody out there. If you like the video, please smash the like button down below, and if you haven't already done so, please consider subscribing. It really helps me out on the channel. So till our next project, guys, take care.